Okay, maybe Ayse will go ahead and start.
Okay.
Since it's been 12:01, I wanted to introduce everybody our chair for TUSIAD Silicon Valley Network. Ayse, good?
Hi, everybody. Shall I do the kickoff, Aylin?
Yeah, why not?
All right, excellent. So, good day for those of you who are based in San Francisco, and good evening to those of you who's in Istanbul or wider Turkey. Thank you for joining this webinar. We're very excited. Believe it or not, we have record reserved participants for tonight, which is unbelievable. I think it's the first time ever we're doing something which is kind of extraordinary, from a sense that it's focused on design. It's not about business. It's not about making money. It's about designing the world around us. So I'm thoroughly excited to have these two phenomenally accomplished Turkish women to be having this great conversation tonight, which we are hoping that you will find very useful and interesting. And by the way, do feel free during the chat of the hour to ask interesting questions to them. Just 2 minutes to talk a little bit about what we stand for. TUSIAD, as you know, is the primary business organization of Turkey, with its members that represent the wider, bigger Turkish business community. What we've done is, based out of San Francisco, we're around 300-ish volunteers, participants, business Turkish people. And some of us are entrepreneurs, some of us are professionals, some of us are students visiting. But it's a great critical mass of Turkish business community who got together. And our basically principle and our aim in life is, number one, get to know each other, network, and support each other for our career purposes. And secondly, and maybe most importantly, find ways to establish links with the Turkish business community and find ways and figure out ways to give back. So that is our goal. And it's almost been more than 2 years that we have formed this chapter. And of course, Aylin Uysal is one of our primary participants and volunteers. And hopefully going forward, Ayse will be one of us. But that's what we stand for. And given the pandemic situation, we decided to move everything online. So we've been holding these webinars, and they've been going pretty well. And so tonight, as I mentioned, we're going to focus on the new normal and how to do design work for our lives, our work, and what have you. So I'm incredibly proud to be having these two accomplished Turkish business people. Ayse Birsel is world-renowned designer. And she has many different, amazing designs that you're probably using in your life, and she's still designing. And she'll think about, she'll talk about how this new normal will shape us, how it should shape us, and the design and the world around us. And then Aylin Uysal, my dear friend, is a vice president in Oracle. Out of everything else, she's the head of VP of design, which is very unique. And I couldn't think of anybody else more, qualified to talk about this subject and lead the discussion. So with that, welcome and enjoy the discussion. And back to you, Aylin and Ayse.
Yeah, thanks so much, Ayse. Thanks for those introductions. I'm super excited to be here today, and especially discussing this topic. It is close to my heart because my team at Oracle designs human resource applications, which might be used by every single employee in a business. And Ayse, thank you for saying yes to share this session with me. Thank you, thank you. You are a well-known product designer in the design community. You are one of the Fast Company's most creative people in 2017. You are on the Thinker 50 radar list of the 30 management thinkers most likely to shape the future of organizations. And you are the one designed the most comfortable toilet, Toto. And that's how that's how I heard about you first. And one of your signature pieces, Resolve Furniture System for Herman Miller, it is designed to adapt to different environments. It is designed to connect people and inspire them. And also, it's been shown in Minority Report. If anybody remembers the movie Minority Report, the scene that Tom Cruise interacts with these virtual screens with his hand gestures. The Resolve furniture system was in that movie, apparently. And also, Ayse's work is in the permanent collection of MoMA, Museum of Modern Art in Manhattan. You also wrote the book of Design the Life You Love recently. And of course, you are working with really important customers like Herman Miller, Amazon, the Scan Foundation. So amazing work. Thank you for joining me tonight, and me and Ayse Gül.
Aylin, thank you so much for that beautiful introduction and digging up the fact that the Resolve office system is in Minority Report. No wonder people were saying when it came out, this system is ahead of its time, so.
Yeah.
But it's great to be here, and I think we've known each other now for 5 or 6 years, and we've become friends, and you've invited me to Oracle to speak to your design team, and now to be part of this conversation with you and Ayse Gül and TUSIAD it's an honor. So thank you so much. And I was telling Ayse Gül that my full name is also Ayse Gül, so it's Aylin, you need to make a wish,
Yeah.
between two Ayse Güls. So I wanted to show some slides of the work you're talking about. How about I dive right into that?
Mm-hmm.
Sound good?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Let me share my screen. And here we go. So we're going to, with Aylin, talk about design for the new normal, breaking and rebuilding in a time of crisis. So welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. And the numbers are going up, Aylin, as we speak. So, and this is my heart beating with excitement at being here together with you, Aylin and Ayse Gül. And this is Aylin and I as super friends, kind of the same hairdo. I'm glad that tonight we both have our hair just like in the sketch.
Yeah, this is my classic bun.
Classic bun, exactly.
My signature bun.
And so this is the toilet seat that Aylin was referring to as unofficially the world's most comfortable toilet seat. And you might have sat on it. And if you haven't sat on it, you might have sat on a vehicle that we've helped design for Toyota or for Nissan through our research, or for Renault, which my partner Birsel+Seck, when I met him, was a star designer for Renault, and then we designed concept cars together. So for some reason the Zoom is making me cry, so hold on. All right.
It's a new feature.
It's a new feature, exactly, from staring at my screen so hard and intentionally. You might have come across the results of our work with GE Aviation. And then this is just coming out. We've spent a year and a half, a wonderful year and a half, co-designing with people who are 65 and older, all the way to 90 plus, together with the Scan Foundation. And this report is going to come out this week or next week. So I would love to share that with the TUSIAD audience as well, because this is an incredible area of development right now. So, and then Herman Miller, we mentioned the Resolve system, and this is the overlay system for Herman Miller that came out about 2 years ago. We've been working with Herman Miller for now 20 years. It's like an old marriage. And yeah, so that's the work, Aylin.
Yeah, it's amazing work, Ayse, and some of them, yeah, I definitely I'm aware of that, and some of them are new. Like you said, I'm looking forward to learn more about the SCAN Foundation. It seems like it's amazing. So, as a design leader in technology, like any other leader, right? I have been trying to figure out what is the new normal with all these new challenges thrown to our way with this pandemic. Everything we know is being deconstructed, right? And the businesses need to redesign and reconstruct the new way of working. The new way of working. This is for their employees. It might be for their customers, for their users. And you have a process. I know, you in your book you mentioned that, and deconstructing and reconstructing. How do you see businesses will be doing it? And I know some businesses already doing this, and you have great examples of that. You and I talked about it in the past, but can you share with us some of that points?
Absolutely. And, Aylin, what's really interesting about the crisis that we're in, it's almost like whether you like it or not, it's forcing you to deconstruct everything you know. Mm-hmm. And you can either, let it happen and deconstruct you, or you can take that as an opportunity to do a controlled deconstruction or collapse, and then rebuild from that. And one of my dear friends, Mark Thompson, who is an executive coach to some of the top world leaders, among them Richard Branson, founder of Virgin, actually calls this behavior burning down the house. And it's inspired by actually Branson's house burning down, and then complete rebuilding it. So it's what's interesting about deconstruction, and let me share my screen again so I'll show you the process a little bit. There we go. I mean, this process of deconstruction, reconstruction is like the red thread across all our work, and it comes from my expertise as a product designer. For many, many years, ever since I graduated from ODTÜ, the industrial design department, I've designed many products, and for maybe the first 20 years, I did it intuitively, and then at one point I sat down and thought about, hold on one second, how do you think? And the result of that is this process of deconstruction, reconstruction, which the first step is taking the whole apart so that you can see what something is made up of. And then the second step is then looking at those parts from a different perspective, to see the same things differently. And then reconstruction is putting it back together, knowing that you can't have everything, which is really important. So which parts and pieces are you going to pick? And then expression is giving it form, and the form could be so many different things. It could be a product, it could be a service, it could be a system, it could be a life. You can deconstruct and reconstruct your life.
Actually, so I use this, which, because I've been in some of your sessions before, and you and I talked about this. I used exactly this methodology when we did a full redesign for our application, human capital management applications in Oracle. And we pretty much tear down everything on the pages and the flows, and we had to relook at the whole thing from the beginning with from new perspective, because the things were changing in the market, our users' expectations were changing. So it was super, super helpful. So we applied to the software business,
That's really exciting. And the thing about, deconstructing actually is that what you're doing is you're breaking the connections between things that you assume are there. So you're basically deconstructing your preconceptions, and that frees you up to then reconstruct and choose the things that you want to work with, the ingredients that you want. And that is the kind of the whole point of problem solving and creativity. And the moment that we're in, is an incredible challenge, but it's also an incredible opportunity just for that reason, because it's breaking what we know, you know. All our assumptions are out the window.
It's not easy though, just breaking things apart. But you need to be able to reconstruct, right?
So, Aylin, I wanted to actually show and share an example with everyone of what's going on with the restaurant business, for example, during this time of COVID. So we dive into that. Yeah. So imagine, you know, when you say a restaurant, you have like this idea in your head, right? But then if you deconstruct it, you start to see pieces of it. Okay, these people are experts in food. There is a gathering space. There is an experience that happens in that space. It's usually a local business that you can walk to or drive to, you know, and, you know, it has, there's an experience that happens. It has a food pantry. These people stock food. They have cleaning supplies. They're experts at cleaning and hygiene. They have loyal customers. If they're successful, they become trusted brands, and you know, they're really good at making food and serving food. So this, you know, are the basic building blocks of restaurant business, right? And then boom, what happens? COVID comes in, virus, you know, COVID-19 with its spikes, and you know, suddenly we're like social distancing, we're sheltering in place, crazy about sanitation, we're all like with our families at home. What happens to the restaurant business, right? This is totally like in conflict with everything that the restaurant business stands for. So then you go back to, okay, so what are the parts and pieces of the restaurant business that I can save? And what are maybe new things that I can add to it? Because I need to survive as a restaurant business. So you start making permutations with reconstructing the idea of a restaurant within, you know, in response to this catalyst that's changing everything. So one group of restaurants have used the pieces of and the ingredients of saying, okay, hold on one second. We still have food pantry. We still have cleaning supplies. We're still a local business that, you know, when you come out of your shelter, you can walk to, we're safe. We do have loyal customers. So we're going to cross out the dining experience because we can't do that, but we're going to become a corner store. Yeah, so that's one permutation. A second permutation is very similar to that, but you take out the dining experience, you add in the car, and suddenly now you have all kinds of restaurants that are becoming drive-throughs or takeout stores, basically. And then the third permutation, you again look at your parts and pieces and you say, hold on a second, we're experts at food, we're a trusted brand, we have loyal customers. And what if we film our expertise? So let's film how we make food, and then on Zoom, we can reach a global audience. And now you have online cooking courses. And these are all actual things that are happening to the restaurant business right now, the way that the restaurant business is inventing itself.
Actually, I have a friend, he owns a restaurant, a couple, Kitchen Istanbul in San Francisco. They have amazing food, and they went through a similar journey, and they are still out there, and they still exist. And yeah, I mean, they had to relook at to their business and how they can, you know, they can survive in the current situation. And these are great examples. You and I also talked about Dyson. You know, I'm sure almost everybody probably knows Dyson. They do build vacuum cleaners. I have one in my house. It's a great product. It's one of the best vacuum cleaners I ever had. But they also relooked at their business, right? So they are, the last 3-4 months, they are in this product, building products. So theirs is probably much more complex than a business, maybe running a restaurant.
Yeah, so Dyson is one of my favorite brands, and what's really interesting about them is that they took the idea of air and said, we own air, and they can, like everything, like you said, from vacuum cleaners to fans to fön makinesi.
Yeah.
You know what that
Flattening iron, or no, it's not the phone. I forgot the phone. Hair dryer.
Thank you, hair dryer, hand dryer, everything to do with air, right? So then I started reading about them when COVID struck and how they were going through a transformation to create, in a very short amount of time, ventilators. And so what was interesting about them is, like, if you deconstruct original Dyson and then reconstruct it into a ventilator manufacturer, what you realize is some of the pieces that are their strength and essential capabilities, all their knowledge about motors and pushing air is still part of this reconstruction of this transformation, right? But then there's some other pieces like Dyson. If everybody here, if you know Dyson, and if you don't, just Google them, you'll see that all of their products have these crazy complicated forms in plastic, which requires incredibly sophisticated molding technology, right? And those things, they don't happen overnight. They take a long time to make and develop. Except that in the case of ventilators in this kind of global health pandemic, Dyson didn't have the time. So that's one thing. Basically, they said, okay, we can't do the molds. And they had to go with things that are very easy to make, like metal flat stop, bend it and, cut it, and you create something with that. And then the other thing that's really interesting that happened is, okay, Dyson makes all these products, but they don't make hospital quality products, right? So in that, they need that expertise of healthcare and what could be hospital ready products. So in that, they basically partnered with a technology partner that was a medical firm. So in what I find out of all this really interesting is looking at a business, whether it's Dyson or your business, and saying, hold on one second, what's my strength? What do I really know? What am I really good at that I can still use? Then you think about what's essential, because in a moment like this, where we're all in a crisis mode, it's important to produce something that is essential. So what is essential in my business that I can produce and people still want to buy? What are things that I need to keep? What are things that I need to transform? But then what are things I need to throw out or delete? Because in this new reality, in the new normal, they're either too expensive, too time, whatever, takes too much time. Or they don't fit the criteria of the new normal, so you get rid of those. And then what's a collaboration? We're all learning together, so what are things that I can't do as a business but I can do together in partnership? So Aylin, for our audience, I did a quick checklist that I think everybody could use now as they go forward, which we use with our clients and for ourselves as well. It's like, what's the strength, what's essential, what to keep, what to transform, what to delete, and who to collaborate with. And if you can start like throwing answers to these things, you then can start to see how you can reconstruct something, a new normal reality that's powerful and valid. And then you could do different permutations, just like we looked at the restaurant business. Because in design, this, there's not one answer, there are multiple answers. And then one of those answers is the best answer to the constraints and the opportunity sets that you're dealing with. And then you take that and you run with it and you prototype it, you try it out, etc.
And actually, this is we are talking about the product, the restaurants, and also there's the whole the workspace, right? So I'm at Oracle. I'm not an essential worker that I have to be in the office. And we started our remote working on March 17, like every other company. And honestly, it's been pretty smooth because we are used to having in remote meetings, and because we are a technology company. But at the same time, you know, it's going to be a time we are going to start going back to work. So first of all, like this new workspace is our remote, just working remotely, working from our house. That's one. And then there's going to be the time we are going to start going back to work. And just recently, I went to the Bay Club. It's one of the gyms that I go for swimming. And of course, it's totally a different experience, right? I had to schedule my lane for the swimming pool. When I went there, my temperature has been measured. Then I had always wearing my mask. And when I get into the elevator, I had to turn my back to the people, right? I cannot talk, I cannot smile. Even if I smile, nobody's gonna see my smile. Anyway, I'm wearing a mask. So I get into the pool and get out quickly. And even though I felt really safe, because it makes me feel safe, because I'm following all the rules that put in place to keep ourselves safe, but at the same time, it is pretty intimidating. So I think that's kind of the challenge. I mean, you know, I wanted to be safe, but at the same time, I wanted to have that human connection. So, I mean, the first is, yeah, this new workspace as remote, and then eventually, when we start getting back to work, I think there's a huge challenge and opportunity for designers. I think our role is it's becoming even more important, and at the same time, it's a huge responsibility. So what are you thinking about that? Like the workspace is kind of, it's one of those things, just keeping me awake at nights.
So Aylin, before I start talking about the new work, can we do just a little and can you tell everybody about how you're competing in crossing the Bosphorus? And tell us about the lanes there. So
oh yeah, I'm on. I don't know. Hopefully, I'm going to be qualified, right? I did my swimming in the swimming pool as part of the Boğazlararası Yüzme Yarışı. That's the crossing. What's that English term for that competition? It's this 2 continents, swimming within 2 continents, from Europe to Europe. Huh? Yeah, it's very cool. Yeah, but you need to qualify. I did my best, and just looking around, I'm like, I'm not so bad. I think I'm going to be qualified, but we'll see. August 1st, I'll hear whether I am in or not, and August 23rd, I might be in Bosporus swimming. And I really wanted to do it. Hopefully I made it. I did really try. Yeah.
So everyone, cross your fingers for
yes,
Aylin.
August 1st.
Yay.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's go back to
the workspace. Workspace, yeah.
Workspace. Okay, come out to the swimming pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know me, I think by drawing, right? There's a direct link between my brain and my pen, which
yeah,
which is what design is, right? I was looking up the etymology of design, and it's planning in your mind and mapping it out, drawing it out. So literally, design is about thinking. So it uses your mind, and drawing, it uses your body. So it's this incredible mind and body thing that that's all about visualization. So with that, here's my visualization of new work. I was trying to capture, make a visual list of things that I was seeing, and I won't go into all of it. But maybe one of the most important things is, number one, collaboration. How suddenly, since COVID, the world has completely flattened. I mean, look at us now, right? You and I and Ayse are all in Turkey, even though we're all normally in the States. talking with our friends who are all over. Some of them are in San Francisco, in New York. I saw, by the way, Penny, thank you for saying hello in the chat, my friend from South Africa. So, which, by the way, if everybody could start saying hello into the chat box and saying where they're from, you know, I think Aylin and I'll have just a fun time reading kind of like how global our conversation is. But that notion of like, we can be one world, I don't think we've ever experienced that before. And it has totally flattened out the world and has made, I mean, I'm interested, Aylin, what it has done to your global design team, because I remember you and I talking about like, when you do a design conference at Oracle, you have to organize like these teams to come from all over the world, right? But now you set up a Zoom call and, you know, maybe 2 Zoom calls to meet 2 different time zones and people show up, right?
Yeah, yeah, they do show up, yeah.
The other thing, talking about showing up, is people show up as themselves. Because look, I'm right now in my parents' home and it's very different from my home in New York, and people who've never seen, you know, this environment now are, you know, it's very intimate. Like, and if my kids were here and they might stick their face into the camera, and Aylin, like same thing with you. You have a kid at home.
Yeah.
And what did you tell us? That you kicked everybody out of the
I
house?
kicked everybody out because, you know, even though they promised they are not going to use the bandwidth, right? So what happens, they just go and start watching their movies or playing their games. So I said, everybody's out. I need the full bandwidth in this house.
Yeah, exactly. But that means that, you know, there used to be this like business persona. I'm like this at work. I'm like that at home. That suddenly also has completely flattened out. I mean, we are who we are. I have 2 daughters who are teenagers, and they might like come and ask me something, and I might talk to them, and they might make noise or whatever. It's just like that. That's been really interesting. I'll jump to number 5. We are not commuting the way we used to commute. I don't know if you commuted, but
I did. I had a long commute. Yeah, I mean, every day, 22 miles, somewhere around 40 kilometers, somewhere around there. My conversion is probably wrong. But yeah, and I did actually like driving. I'm one of those people, because that was my me time in the car. That's the time I read my books, digital books, and it's just my Zen time was in my car, because the life is so busy at home. In my case, it became busier. So I think this is one of the pieces, like now I need to create that me time in my house, which I totally had a different space before. Yeah.
So what I've been observing, because we are working with our clients in terms of designing their community, designing their team, designing their life in this moment. And we're hearing a lot of people are investing in self-time and doing that very intentionally, because otherwise you know, things are so out of whack and out of balance that you have to preserve yourself. So what we're finding is people have created flexible programs or schedules for themselves, where people are meditating, people are you know, taking time to take a nap in the middle of the afternoon to be able to go on a late Zoom call, for example. They're making time to do exercise via Zoom or things like this, and that's happening incredibly organically. So the time that was spent traveling or commuting is now being spent for me time, but you have to really be intentional to do that, you know, because it doesn't happen by itself. You have to make that happen.
Yeah.
And number 10 is very interesting to me, and I think is one of the kind of within this challenge an opportunity is because everything we know has been upended. We've all become interns in a way. You know, we're all practicing beginner's mind because there's so many things we don't know. And whether you're a CEO or a leader or a team member or an intern, that also has been kind of like a leveling field in terms of we all need to learn, we all need to share, we all need to teach each other. So anyways, these are the things that are happening I think everybody had a chance to kind of read and look at some of the other points in this 12 point, probably not all encompassing, but touching on some of the key elements of new work. And so once you map this out, this also is a deconstruction of sorts. When you then look at, okay, what are the patterns that you're seeing? What's interesting are these dualities that are emerging.
Yeah.
So I've noted 3 dualities, and there might be more, but one is definitely work-life duality that used to be separate, now it's intermeshed. You went through this, right? I remember I called you one day and you were like, you have, your son is 7 years old, 8 years old?
Yeah, he just turned 8, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is just, he's constantly around, right? So it's great in a way, but it's just keeping that balance and just totally focusing on my work, creating that space for me, especially as a designer, right? You need to detach yourself, what's happening around you. You really need to focus on the problem. And so it feels like sometimes it's hard to do that in a home environment that you are trying to make a work environment. Yeah.
So I admire you for that, because I got lucky because my daughters are teenagers, so they're like 15 and 16, and they more or less manage their own life and time. But I just admire moms and dads who are homeschooling their kids while they're working full time. So there's that, like, we're in the beginning of, still, I would say, of this crisis that's changing everything as we know it. And this relationship of work and life needs to be designed, right? We're all devising our ways of managing it, but eventually there'll be kind of experiences and services that will be offered. So that's definitely one piece of the puzzle. Another piece of it is this physical virtual that's going to become really apparent as companies go back to physical offices, but you can't go back full time. Like, we can't go back with your full staff. So you're going to go back with, okay, Aylin and this team can go on Mondays and the other people can go on Tuesdays. And the other half of your team is going to stay home. So that combination of how do you manage half of your meeting that's in real space, in a meeting space, and then the other half that's in a virtual space. Yeah. How is that going to look like? Because Zoom is easy when everybody's in their own spaces, but it's a whole different ballgame when, some people are together and some people are virtual. And then the third piece of it is in terms of spaces, homes and offices, how that duality is going to affect how we're going to furnish our homes. And then what's that going to mean when people who are now used to working from home come to the office? What's going to compel them to come to the office?
Yeah,
what kind of environments and experiences we're going to look for. So this work hybrids, dualities, I think are incredibly exciting, because when you have these dualities that are often opposing, if you can make them coexist and kind of harmonize them, that's where you can create incredible value. new value and long-term value. So that's I'm really excited about that. But at the same time, it's not easy. It's not going to be easy.
Yeah. Do you, Ayse, you've been designing, and you are one of the designers, spent a lot of time designing workspaces, designing spaces so people can connect better and get inspired. And and you're still, Herman Miller is still one of your clients, and I'm sure you have other clients focusing on office furniture or workspaces. Are they thinking about these problems already? Like, do you have clients already talking about these? Like, I don't know, some of might be confidential. Anything you can share, like what some of your clients maybe you are talking to, what are they thinking about?
I think it's really interesting in that we're talking on two levels. One is like physical products, and then the other is experiences of work. So in our work, the deconstruction, reconstruction can stretch to both ends of that kind of continuum. Is okay, what are work or home environments? What are the furniture, systems, products that go into it? But equally, like all the questions about how am I going to manage my team through this transformation? So design the work you love, design the community you love, design the leadership you love, deconstructing leadership and putting it back together, deconstructing community and global teams and putting them back together. So this is actually what we're doing in real time right now, trying to help our clients figure out both the physical elements, but also all of the non-tangible experiences of, okay, COVID happened, what now? And I actually wanted to, can I jump ahead for a second?
Yeah.
I'll go, okay, these will be for another talk, okay? But I just wanted to also, because Aylin, I think I talk too much. We have only 15 minutes.
No, that's okay. This is great. By the way, I wanted to also let people know, if you wanted to ask any questions, either Ayse or myself, just feel free to use the chat. I know people are letting us know where they are at, and great feedback. Thank you so much. Yeah, I just wanted to point that out too. I think I forgot to mention that at the beginning.
All right, so I'll do this quick example of how to think about the transformation differently, and then I'll come out of our slideshow and then we could take on questions. But one of the things that we use in deconstruction, reconstruction as a design thinking tool is metaphors. And I love metaphors because first of all, they're visual. Second, we all have metaphors, so they help us understand new or complex things in relation to things we know. So as soon as COVID happened, I mean, talk about complexity. I was like, what's a metaphor for what's happening right now that could help us understand it? And we came up with this idea of, it's a metamorphosis. We're in transformation time, and we're going through a metamorphosis where before we were caterpillars, now we're in the messy middle. We're in our cocoons, sheltering in place, and everything we know is breaking up. If you have raised butterflies, you know this, but when the caterpillar is inside the cocoon, it just becomes like a mushy soup. It breaks down, and only a few elements like DNA from the caterpillar stays, and everything else changes. And then when you're in the cocoon as this butterfly, you don't know when you're going to come out. And as my friend Terry Jackson says, one thing is certain: you're not going to come out as the caterpillar. There's no going back to being the caterpillar. So sorry, everyone, to break the news, but we're not going to go back to the way we were. But we're going to come out as butterflies, and we're going to have wings, and that means we're going to fly. So if you start thinking about that metaphor, you can apply this, and we're doing this with our clients as individuals with their teams, but also in terms of businesses. individually you can think about, well, what does that mean for me in my work as a leader or as a team member? What are the things I'm going to keep from before? What are things that I'm discovering or learning right now that I'm going to hold on to, you know, from my cocoon stage? And then what are going to be my wings when I come out? And so mine are like, I'm going to, from my caterpillar experience, I still want to deconstruct, reconstruct everything I know because that's how I think. But then I'm discovering right now that loving and showing my gratitude at work, with my family, with my friends, that's so important. And then what's going to be my wings are my collaborators. Like Aylin, you're part of my wing set right now. Together we are generating more value and we can go farther together. But then you can also do this with your organization and say, okay, what are things you're going to keep from before as an organization? And you could say our expertise in ... What are we learning right now that we want to hold on to coming, you know, no matter what? And you might, I mean, this is based on some of the examples we've had, but some people, some organizations, I should say, they want to keep the beginner's mindset of like, we're continuous learners. And then what your wings are going to be, you know, as part of our learning, I think, is also diversity and inclusion, especially in the States today. So if we are more diverse and inclusive, that's going to allow us to fly and truly be a global force. So these are just some examples of organizational, applying the same metaphor individually and as an organization to work.
Yeah, and by the way, I hate caterpillars. I raised butterflies. When we used to live in Aydın, they had the the special trees, they eat the leaves. They had them on the streets, and I had to go and climb up on the trees, and for my caterpillars, it's an amazing process, right? It's like exactly like you said, there's no going back, and we are in a transformation. I think the challenging part for me, like, this is so new, there's nothing to go and study, and we are all going through this together. We don't know how it's gonna be going back to office space, and that we cannot really interview or to do research with the people. They already went through that. So it's an interesting, it's going to be an interesting process, and some of the things that you discussed, the principles you mentioned and the processes, we can definitely apply. There are a couple of questions, Ayse. I'm looking at time. We have 10 minutes.
Let me come out of my...
Yeah, so the one... one question is fascinating, and there's one
I love our audience.
Fascinated by the concept of deconstructing leadership, such an important aspect of adapting and recovering. Any chance of unpacking further? So I mean, maybe I can give an example from my leadership style on this. I had to deconstruct on my leadership style as well. Just going back to remote, and the way that, you know, looking at the meetings, like my teams in different places, you need to think about the families, which some of the things we haven't taught before, then you realize that it becomes much more important when you are working remotely. So I definitely relook at all my values, visit my values, and relook at them. You know, what are the most important things I really need to keep, and then I need to add some additional things to support the designers in my team, and how can I help them? They can collaborate better, communicate better, and we don't lose that human day-to-day touch. So like, we have a FaceTime every day, 11 a.m. People show up, and it's not a required meeting, but just to see, you know, hey, you know, what's happening in your end, share some designs. They might have a design question, and they can ping anybody anytime. So yeah, I mean, I'm still learning and deconstructing, and sometimes I'm figuring out this is not working. I need to really look at these pieces again. But I'm also curious, like, what is what you're thinking on that?
Yeah, I think I mean, Aylin, I love your leadership style, and one of the things that in addition to what you're saying, that we're doing with leaders is really acknowledging the challenges and saying, let's make a list of all the challenges that you're facing. And instead of getting them to answer or solve their challenges, we put them in a situation where other leaders solve for somebody else's challenges. And it creates this incredible kind of give and take of one acknowledging that even our leaders who we put on a pedestal in terms of like, you need to know everything. Well, we don't. And we're faced with so many challenges, and opening up that and saying, we don't have the answer to all of these, and saying, kind of like accepting answers and help from others. It creates this reciprocity that's really, I think, very important right now for people to say, we can, first of all, we share many challenges, and we can't solve it ourselves. We can solve it together. And it creates this, I mean, one of the key tenets of design is collaboration and multidisciplinary collaboration. So we create safe environments for that collaboration to happen for leaders, and for them to also realize you can help and you can ask for help. And if you start opening that door, it's magical, because it's incredibly creative, and it's humbling, but also very strong. It's humble strength, basically.
Yeah, yeah. Somebody else made a comment here. What would you recommend in terms of keeping up with this metamorphosis, both individually and as a corporate identity? Do you believe the current transition will result in multiple hybrid models in the near future, which could vary based on employee profiles? That's an interesting one. I can see that there's going to be, multiple hybrid models. And I am also seeing this, depending which industry you are in as a business, right? We see that on our customers too. You might be in a healthcare business versus on retail, or like the hotels, like they heard quite a lot, like how they are I think there is gonna be different models from the business perspective and the corporate identity. But yeah, do you want to add on to that, Ayse?
Yeah, I think that there will be different models, and we're going to prototype different things and test them and find out. What's really going to be important is that those models and experiences need to be designed, and they need to be designed in a very human-centered, empathic manner. And I hope that that organizations will become more human in the process. What we've been hearing from our clients and the teams that we've done, this deconstruction, reconstruction work with, is that there is a real worry about, we're going through all this, and when we come out of it, we're going to go back to the way things were. And that's probably the worst possible outcome. We don't want, we've learned so much that all this sacrifice has to lead up to something better.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think organizations and leaders have the responsibility to make sure that we don't go back to the way we were before, and make that promise to their people that we're going to come out of this wiser, so that's my hope.
Yeah, Totally. I mean, I was talking to my cousin. She's working on the HR. She's an HR person, and she mentioned that it is in her case. She's in Turkey, and she said some of the Turkish companies, they were totally against employees working from home. And these employees, like, they are software engineers. They can work remotely from home, but it's just the culture of the company. And they were thinking that's not going to be as productive or efficient. But after, with the whole pandemic and people now have to work from home, they realize actually their people are more productive and more efficient, especially software engineers. But there are professions, I guess, will need more connection. Like in my case, I'm in this situation, like, yes, I wanted to be safe, but at the same time, I need that face-to-face interaction at some point. Are we going to have outdoor offices, Ayse? Are you going to design workspaces? We are going to sit on a green. I mean, I was like, so we need that. We need. I feel like for certain professions, we'll need that. I think keeping that balance, and also it will be individually too. Like somebody mentioned about the personal brand. For some people, it's a different way of communicating, working, and some will need more than others depending your profession. Yeah.
I think it's going to be more organic, more hybrid, more eclectic, and more human. That's really my hope. And Aylin, by the way, we have like a minute to go.
Yes. Okay. I know. We've been like, this has been good. Yeah. Just checking, I'm not missing any questions here. But since we have 1 minute, I know you posted that hug you have beautiful drawings, by the way. You have such a great style on that. But what is that? What's that hugging? We cannot hug Ayse anymore. No hugging. But you draw a picture.
I solved that problem. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to show it. And also thank you everyone for joining us. What an amazing audience. Aylin, you and I are very lucky. When you look at some of the chat, it's just incredibly welcoming. So I was telling Aylin that I was very frustrated with this idea that we cannot hug anymore physically, and you all know, like, hugs and having physical contact raises our serotonin, right? It builds trust. It comforts people. It's a way of showing that you care. So, and I'm really interested in challenges, and this was a challenge, and I kept racking my brain and thinking there has to be a solution to this, and suddenly now I have one solution, and that was inspired by something that one of the audience members, Penny, and I was part of a webinar this weekend for Mandela Day, and one of the speakers talked about holding other people's opposing thoughts and ideas and kind of welcoming that. And as soon as he said holding, I thought to myself, that's it. That's the new hug. The new hug is holding other people's values, opinions, beliefs, attitudes in your embrace. And that is the new hug, and that's the way we can be stronger and more unified, more equal, and economous. So that's the new hug.
I love the new hug, but I still need the physical hug too. That too.
While we wait, I think we can hug each other's, even if they're different from each other.
Exactly.
We stand together, and so Aylin, from here, I send you and everyone here who joined us so kindly the new hug.
Yeah, the new hug. And we are about time, and thank you so much for everybody joining to us, listening to us, our conversation, asking questions, letting us know where you are in the world. And I see people are everywhere. It's amazing. We have this conversation with so many people dialing to the call from different places on Earth. So yeah, thank you, and maybe next time we'll do it again one more time. Thanks, Ayse.
Aylin, thank you so much for inviting me, and Ayse, thank you for having me. It's such a privilege to be part of your TUSIAD community. And to everyone who listened to us tonight, thank you for coming. Yes, and may I make a little publicity?
Yes, Ayse, I forget about that.
Knowing
Sorry.
more, I will unabashedly publicize. Ever since the COVID started, every Wednesday we started holding Design the Life and Work You Love virtual teas. And it's every Wednesday, 3 p.m. summertime, during the summer, 3 p.m. New York time. Please join us. And if you want to join us and get invitations to it or notices to it, it's in the chat box. There's a link to our newsletter. But I couldn't help myself. I would love to connect with everyone. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I was going to mention that.
For the virtual tea on Wednesday.
Yeah, awesome.
All right.
Thank you. Bye, everybody, wherever you are. All right, bye.